Attack on America. Dan Rather reporting from CBS News World Headquarters in New York with Ed Bradley. It is 1:30 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. Headline of this hour, a surge of hope in New York's disaster zone after a miracle of survival. Firefighters at the World Trade Center site pulled at least 2 and possibly more of their own from the rubble today, alive. At least one of the firefighters walked away, bent but straight up and proud. But New York City Mayor Giuliani says 4,763 people are unaccounted for, with 94 now confirmed dead. At the Pentagon, the Defense Department now estimates 126 people were killed, nearly all of them Army or Navy personnel or civilian employees. Those death figures do not include the 266 people or more on the 4 hijacked jetliners used in the attacks. The final death toll may be above 5,000. Attorney General Ashcroft revised the estimated number of hijackers to 18. He says 18 foul people got aboard those planes to make them suicide bombs. There were 5 hijackers each on 2 of the planes, 2 hijackers on the other 2 aircraft. Also today, it's reported that the plane that hit the Pentagon may have first circled the U.S. Capitol before veering south toward the Pentagon. One congressman says they were briefed and told that's what had happened. Now, those are among the developments of the hour. Ed Bradley, it is going to be at least a month, probably 2 months, before we have a final death toll, because it's going so slowly in Lower Manhattan.
It's going to take a long time to dig out from the collapse of those 2 buildings. To understand what you had there, you have structural steel, which is supporting those buildings, and that steel loses its structural capabilities when it gets to a temperature of 500 to 600 degrees. With 24,000 gallons of aviation fuel, temperatures went as high as 2,000 degrees. So that made that steel soft and mushy, is the way it's been described. And when that happened, all of it just tumbled in on itself.
And that heat also literally evaporated the bodies of some victims.
There were many of them. They said that they had recovered 92 bodies. They were able to identify 46 of them, and they had 70 body parts. Some people will never be found. Some people will never be identified.
That's the reality of it. We have with us in our studio Dr. Philip Landegren, a physician who teaches at Columbia University Medical School. Thank you for being with us, Doctor. Your specialty is what happens in our lungs, it's my understanding.
Yes, sir. I'm an occupational doctor at Mount Sinai Medical School, and we specialize in diseases of workers, the effects of dust, asbestos, other toxic chemicals on the health of working men and women.
I do want to apologize to you. I said Columbia, but you are at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. My apologies.
Yes.
Doctor, everybody in New York has been aware that there are things in the air, dust, something in the air. How could it be otherwise when once you see those pictures of the great billows of smoke and debris thrown into the air from the World Trade Center? And here inside our newsroom, we've felt the air is getting heavy. Is that our imagination, or is the air in New York permeated with this trash from the blast?
The material from the blast is throughout the air in Manhattan. We're up at 5th Avenue and 101st Street, and yesterday as the wind blew to the north, we could smell the smoke, smelled something like an electrical fire coming through our own ventilation system. But the greatest risk is not for those of us who work in offices and who occasionally walk about the city. The really serious risk, the focal point, is going to be for those workers, the firefighters, the Con Ed workers, the police, the construction workers, and others who are right down there in the dust doing the recovery, doing the rescue, doing the demolition, because those men and women are going to be exposed to this dust, which contains asbestos and particulates, day after day for, I would anticipate, many weeks to come.
Excuse me, Doctor. Bulletin, New York City, the Associated Press has just reported that 5 firefighters have been pulled alive from the rubble and debris this morning. We at CBS News have not been able to confirm this on our own, but the Associated Press now says that 5 firefighters have been found alive. We at CBS News confirmed 2 were found in the rubble. Byron Pitts was on the scene as that happened a while back, and we'll check and double check as we try to do everything with this Associated Press report. Thank you, Doctor, for understanding. We want to interrupt with that. I want to get back to what's happening with the workers up and down the line, including the nurses and physicians who are down working in this terrible sort of scene from Dante's hell down there in lower Manhattan. How big is the health risk for them?
The greatest risk is going to be for those workers who are right down in the dust. The dust doesn't travel, the heavy dust, the really toxic dust, will not travel terribly long distances. It's going to be confined within an area of a few blocks immediately around ground zero. So the people that we need to focus our efforts on are the construction workers and the others who will be right there. For people who are walking the streets, we're advising that they purchase masks that would cover the lower half of the face for that time when they're out in the neighborhood. The people we need to be particularly worried about are people at the two ends of life, the very old and the very young. And we need to worry about people that have chronic lung disease. We need to worry about people that have heart problems, because the particles that are in the air could tip some of them over, could put them into cardiac failure, could cause bronchitis, could cause pneumonia.
Could this trigger attacks of asthma, emphysema?
It could indeed, especially among people who are already asthmatics, especially among young children. The day-to-day exposure to this dust and debris could do that. So I think the common sense advice, Ed, that we've been giving to people is treat this the way they were treating ozone alert in the summer. Limit the amount of time they're outdoors, keep the windows down, limit heavy exercise.
And is this something that people have to worry about, the people who are working there now, that sometime in the future, that this could trigger something in them? I would say that the risks for the people who are working there fall into two categories. There's the immediate risk today in this month of inhaling dust and getting bronchitis or asthmatic-like reactions from the dust. And then there's the long-term risk, maybe 20, 25, 30 years out from now, that we know that that dust contains asbestos. The governmental sampling that's been done has documented that there's asbestos in the dust. Some fraction of those people may be placed at increased risk of lung cancer or malignant mesothelioma, the cancer that is associated with asbestos, a couple of decades from now. So the goal is to take prudent measures to provide these people with respiratory protection, and I understand that's being done.
Serious stuff. Dr. Philip Landrigan, physician and teacher at the internationally known and great Mount Sinai School of Medicine. Thank you for being with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go now to CBS News correspondent Mark Strausman at Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport. Mark, what's happening there as the official lifting of restraints on airline travel gets a little deeper into the day?
It's true, Dan. Atlanta's airport is now back open for business, but it is hardly business as usual. For one thing, there is all the added security. Extra police outside, a greatly stepped-up presence inside. For another thing, there are far fewer passengers because very few planes are actually leaving here. But it's a start.
2 days after terror first gripped America, the world's busiest airport was back open for business, and this country was back flying again.
International #1.
But getting into the airport is still not the same thing as getting into the air.
All flights are canceled today. All flights 100% canceled all day long.
The number of flights actually leaving here today remains very limited. These passengers bound for Johannesburg were on the first outbound plane since Tuesday. They held the hottest ticket in America and a boarding pass to keep it company.
Been frustrating? Most frustrating experience of my life. Yeah, very frustrating.
The whole situation is very surreal. I couldn't believe this has actually happened, that the whole fleet of the USA is on the ground. And we're the first lot going out now. It's amazing.
At any open airport, now expect tighter security and longer delays indefinitely.
Things will move slowly. We have new security procedures in place, and we want people to bring with them their confirmed reservations, tickets, and their patience.
Today, an airport that handles 80 million passengers a year was heartened by the arrival of a few flights and the departure of one grateful group finally headed for South Africa.
For any American airport to reopen, the FAA has to recertify its security. For example, LAX and Los Angeles planes are now landing. Chicago's O'Hare Airport is still closed. That recertification is going to happen airport by airport, community by community. And it's going to be just one more step in America's rebuilding process that's going to take some time. Dan?
Mark Schwarzman live in Atlanta now. What's happening in Los Angeles? We go to Sandra Hughes live at Los Angeles International Airport. Sandra?
Well, Dan, Mark is correct. The first commercial flights just arrived at Los Angeles International Airport a few minutes ago, and just before I started speaking with you, a Delta Airlines flight took off. Things are getting back to normal very slowly. That first flight, commercial flight to arrive, was an American Airlines flight. I'm not sure if there were passengers on board that. That might have been a plane just getting in place to take passengers later today. But just a few moments ago, an Alitalia flight did arrive with passengers. Those were passengers who were diverted to another airport who were supposed to be arriving here on Tuesday. Now, the airport is not yet officially open, so the passengers are going to be bussed off of the airport property. They're going to meet folks who are waiting for them at a remote parking position. That's where they will be able to meet up with people who are waiting for them. Because the airport is still not officially open. Now, planes have been moving around all day, getting in position for today. It's going to be a very slow process. We had a couple of cargo planes that arrived this morning. LAX officials say they don't expect that the airport is going to be up to anything more than about 50% capacity by this weekend, not 100% capacity until sometime next week. And when the airport officially here reopens, it's going to be noon Pacific time. That's not too long from now. There are going to be some big security changes. Number one, no curbside check-in. No personal cars are going to be allowed in this area of the airport. You're going to have to come in by a taxi or by a bus. You're not going to be allowed to take any kind of a knife on board a plane with you. And lastly, you will be allowed carry-ons, but expect that they will be searched and searched very carefully. Now, up in Seattle, Washington, the airport is officially opening, but from what we understand, they're not allowing passengers beyond the security checkpoint. So they're lining up right now, trying to get tickets. Very hopeful for travel today, although Continental and American Airlines both say they will not be flying out of Seattle today. United says they hope to be flying by about 6 o'clock Pacific. So, Dan, the bottom line here, as Mark was saying, and I'll just reiterate, it's a slow process getting things back going today. And I think the word of the day for air travel passengers should just be patience.
Sandra, thanks. What do we know, if anything? You've mentioned Seattle, things slowly getting back to not normal, but sort of resuming there. What about San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego? All of those are big air terminals.
Well, yesterday we were told by San Francisco officials that they didn't expect to open until Friday. So I think this is sort of an individual airport situation. I know that each airline has to be certified through the FAA. They have to be able to prove that they're up to these new security standards. So I don't think everybody is going to come back online at the same time. And it's going to depend. A lot of flights coming east. As they come east, they'll land west, and things will start opening up out here. Very slow process, and hopefully people will be patient.
Sandra Hughes live in Los Angeles. Ed Bradley, word from LaGuardia Airport where they're trying to get things cranked back up again, but they're having some difficulty.
Well, security is very tight. The American Airlines section of LaGuardia Airport was temporarily evacuated in the last couple of hours. A man came in with what was regarded as a suspicious package, and he made some inappropriate remarks about that package. He was arrested immediately. Bomb-sniffing dogs were brought in, and the terminal, that part of the terminal, was evacuated. They are now back up to operation.
Let's go to Newark Airport. Randall Pinkston brings up data on what's happening there. Randall?
Yes, Dan. In the past 30 minutes, at least 5 Continental Airline flights have landed here at Newark International Airport. Continental, which is the largest carrier operating at Newark, expects some 31 arrivals by late this afternoon. 11 of those flights will be from international points, and it is also expected that some of those planes that will be arriving will be empty, merely getting ready for resumption of normal operations. Much of the activity that we have observed here over the past few hours has taken place on the tarmac, as planes have been ferried from gates where they've been frozen for the past 2 days to hangars, presumably for maintenance checks before being returned to normal service. For Continental, US Air, United, TWA, Northwest, Delta, all of those airlines reporting the anticipation of gradual and underlying gradual resumption of departures and arrivals. There are not expected to be any departures before 3 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon. Air travel has changed. Air travel is changing even as we speak. For those passengers who do manage to arrive in Newark this afternoon, all they have to do is to look out of their windows to the east, across the river in lower Manhattan for the plume of smoke to understand why air travel has changed. And we saw another sign of that as we entered the location for our live truck. 2 Port Authority police officers with shotguns and automatic weapons in plain view. The first time in my experience here over 2 decades in New York that I have seen that at any airport after any scene of incident of terror. Dan?
Randall Pinkston live at Newark. At Newark Airport, LaGuardia, and New York's huge JFK, things are going to be very, very slow getting back to anything approaching normal, and by slow we mean this will take days. It's true that federal aviation officials today lifted the official ban on travel, but there's an immense tangle of airplanes and crews that has to be untangled before things can even approach normal. We've said it before, we'll say it again. If you're going to the airport, you have to bring patience. Now, and also, not a bad idea to zip your lip. As Ed Bradley said, somebody at LaGuardia Airport was deemed as suspicious partly because he said something that was deemed, quote, inappropriate. There'll be a lot of that at airports. Simply put, if you don't absolutely have to go to an airport, don't go. Want to travel somewhere, rent a car, take a train, flag down a Grey Dog bus. Because airports are going to be very, very confused, chaotic, and difficult. And if you have to go, go at least 2 hours early for any flight and be prepared for highly tightened security. Now let's go to CBS News correspondent, our medical correspondent, Elizabeth Caledon, who is outside St. Vincent's Hospital here in New York. Elizabeth?
Well, Dan, there's a real sense of renewed energy here just in the last half hour to 45 minutes with this news that 2, possibly 5, but so far as we know, 2 firefighters have actually walked out of the rubble. We do not know if they will be brought here. The hospital spokespeople don't know that they will be brought here, but we are, of course, all standing by hoping to see a couple of ambulances roll in here with firefighters on board. That would be some good news that we all need to hear. In the meantime, this hospital is trying to focus a little bit on the psychological scars, particularly the trauma to children. Over the past couple of days, we've been glued to our television sets, and there are children out there who may have lost a parent or are, in fact, watching the whole scene unfold on television. Psychiatrists here are warning that, in fact, TV viewing of this disaster should be limited for children.
It's not good for yourselves or your kids to stay plastered at the TV that are showing all of these images over and over and over again. I think it's very interesting just from a psychological perspective that the media keeps showing this. I think in a way it's to help us master the tragedy that's happened. But for parents, please do not expose your children to this imagery over and over again. That's not good. It's not appropriate.
So, Dan, as I mentioned, we are standing by here hoping that we will see a couple ambulances roll in with good news, which we all need at this point. Dan?
Elizabeth Caledon live outside St. Vincent's Hospital. We go live now by telephone to CBS News correspondent Byron Pitts, who can bring us up to date on the rescue of some firefighters alive. Byron?
Well, Dan, some more detail. I've just been told by 2 different sources. A National Guardsman who was at the immediate scene, the rubble where those firefighters were taken out, the rubble of Tower Number 1. As he explains it to me, these firefighters were actually found inside an SUV that was buried beneath debris. They made their way through the debris, and the 2 firefighters walked out on their own. According to this National Guardsman, there were 3 other firefighters alive in that vehicle, but they needed assistance. I don't have confirmation of that beyond his word. The 2 firefighters I saw with my own eyes and as they walked past, and they were, and everyone applauded and patted them on the back. Since last we spoke, Dan, rescue teams have brought out, I've counted, 5 more body bags. It is the enthusiasm that was here about, 45 minutes ago when we first spoke and they first found them, has pretty much gone. Grim faces are back. The rescue teams are still piled up on what remains of Tower Number 1. A few moments ago, I can see one of the cadaver dogs laid down in one of the spots. I was told that was an indication that the animal spotted bodies in that area. They are working now to clear the debris. But again, the enthusiasm, the excitement that was here about 45 minutes ago has pretty much gone. It's back to the real reality of the situation, that while they may find a few, the majority of what they'll find here is death. Dan.
Byron Pitts. You used the phrase. I paused just a second because there was some noise there, but apparently it was insignificant. The rescue workers, construction workers, Con Ed workers and others.
Dan, are you with me?
Putting up flags now around.
Hello?
We go back to Byron Pitts.
Dan.
Byron.
Dan, something just fell. All of us. Excuse me, I'm trying to catch my breath.
Just take your time, take a breath, Byron. Tell us what you see, what you hear.
All of us ran full tilt. What's going on? We're running again. What happened? What happened? Dan, every firefighter, every rescue worker I see is running. What happened? What happened, brother? Do you hear what happened? What happened, sir?
I don't know. They said get out of there quick.
They said get out of there quick? What do you think it was? Okay, thank you, sir. Dan, I think I was standing near the base of what remained tower number 2. I just finished my report with you when all of a sudden every person standing near me started running full. Sir, have you heard what happened? That's all I did. Okay. Everyone started running full tilt. I think people have calmed down some now. No one's running at this moment. I'm making my way back to where I was. Here's what I see. What was once a clear space, open air, above what was tower number 2 is now just smoke. Have you heard what happened, bro?
Somebody said the American Express building.
Someone?
What? I think this.
What?
This, right here.
Okay. Word on the ground, and here with the grunts, is that the American Express building may have come down. Everyone is backed up. We're all looking up in the sky. For what? I'm not sure. Getting back to the remains of tower number 1, yes, I still see the rescue workers who are there. I just heard a New York City Police Department lieutenant tell one of his men, go count for everyone. Find everyone. We need the count of who's here. Okay, I'm back now where I was originally. Looking, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Have we heard what happened? Hey, brother, we heard what happened? Don't know. I have an office to say. Okay. Yeah.
What?
Partial collapse of this building?
I don't know where the interior, I don't know. I really didn't see it. I was over there. All I know is everybody's supposed to
What immediate? What's the name? The Okay. Dan, I've been told to move back.
Well, as Byron Pitts moves back, Byron, first of all, make sure you have your mask on.
Yes.
Then pause as you move. Suck in deep breaths through your mouth with the mask on. Get your breath, steady as you go, fall back to where you got to be. We're going to keep you open. Come in when you can, if you can, when you want to. We bring our viewers up to date here. There have been, we believe now, possibly 5 firefighters found alive, trapped inside an SUV that was covered with debris. And then we believe that is besides 2 other firefighters that were found alive early in the morning. But we haven't absolutely flatly confirmed that. But a number of firefighters have been found alive. Then, what we're covering now, and Byron Pitts was on the scene, another apparent building collapse in Lower Manhattan.
CBS will pay you some money for that.
And by the way, if you heard Byron Pitts say CBS will pay you money, it was that we've apparently harmed somebody's piece of equipment there, but that's beside the point. That Byron Pitts viewed what he thought was a new building collapse. Several eyewitnesses among the workers have apparently confirmed that. It is not confirmed that it's the American Express building, which was in the general area of the World Trade Center Twin Towers.
That would be on Vesey Street, a couple blocks away.
A couple of blocks away, but we know, given the tremendous thunder and force of the falling down of the World Trade Center building itself, that other buildings in the neighborhood, we've been told for some time, are in danger of collapsing. We do not know. We'd like to tell you what we know as a fact. We do not know for a fact that the American Express building has collapsed. What we do know is that a number of people who are working in the area say that it has. We're
they can come back here if they want.
Now, Byron Pitts, we're going to come back to you. I'm double-checking. You're pretty sure that a building, another building, has collapsed. You're not sure that it's the American Express building.
That is correct, Dan. At least there was a fear that a building was going to collapse. Again, at this level, no one stood long enough for confirmation. When the word came to run, everybody ran. Now, standing with me is one of the volunteers here. Sir, please tell me your name again.
Ben, and the last name is Alicia, which is A-L-I-C-A.
Then you were inside one of the buildings. Tell me what happened exactly.
As we were inside the building.
Do you know which building it was you were in?
Exactly the address. I don't know what this is. I think this is the American Express building, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
I'm on the other side, down in Ground Zero. We have a long assembly line, a long chain gang. Everybody's passing buckets. There was a fire chief that stood up high on a mound somewhere we could all see him visually. And he sounded off a whistle, started yelling on the radios for everybody to stop what they were doing and clear out. So that's exactly what we did. Now, we didn't know exactly which building it is exactly that they were reporting that was supposed to go down, but I think there were just pieces of the building that were coming off. So they automatically, out of fear, had us clear out because they never know if the pieces are coming off the building because of it crumbling or going down or because of the structure integrity of it bending. So they just wanted us out. So we all ran out.
As a precaution. You okay?
As a precaution. I'm fine.
All right. Good. So then that's the situation. So it looks then, once the dust clears, that if anything fell, a whole building definitely didn't fall. Perhaps parts of it fell. Now, in the big scheme of things, this may not prove to be a very significant moment. But for those of us who are here, that moment was a big one. Calm has returned now. They're keeping the workers out as engineers and fire officials make some assessment about what has happened in that building and what needs to happen. I know, having been here much of the morning, you can see parts of that one.
Well, that's the structure over there. That is going to go down no matter what because it's been on flames, but they're worried about this structure here.
Okay.
They want to check the structural integrity of this building here.
Sure. Okay. One of the things that's delayed what is still called a rescue mission at this point are moments like the one we just had. Out of concern that something more serious might happen, when there's some sense by the experts that there's a problem in one of the buildings, that it becomes unsafe, the word goes to get out. And people, mindful of what's happened here the past 48 hours, you run as hard as you can until someone says you can stop running. And that's what we all did.
Byron Pitts reporting live with a dramatic moment. There are a lot of dramatic moments down there. Want to underscore now, while it was widely believed that another building had collapsed in Lower Manhattan, Byron Pitts has now checked, double-checked, it's what reporters do, whether they're on the ground or in the studio, and it is a fairly large building is in danger of collapsing, but has not collapsed. And confirmed now, the American Express building is still standing. The American Express building has not, I repeat, not collapsed. There's some concern about a lot of buildings in that area, but the American Express building has not collapsed. There are a lot of wobbly buildings, and they're methodically checking each and every one of them out. That's what's happened this hour. At least 5 firefighters have been saved in the debris. You're watching CBS News, continuing coverage of the attack on America. Attack on America.